It's just like really we thank him for being who he is. We want to use this thought today from the passages we read in 2 Samuel chapter 5. Breaking through barriers. Breaking through barriers. Breaking through barriers. Let us pray. God, we are thankful to you for being God in our lives. Just the way you watch over us and you keep us, and the way you care for us and love us.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yes, God. Thank you.
God, as we've come to look in your word now, we ask that you would speak to us, that you would encourage our hearts, our minds, challenge our thinking, stretch us, make us, mold us, do whatever it is that you need to do within us so we can be better today than we were yesterday.
Yes,
So
Lord
we
God. Yes, God.
look more like you, love more like you
Yes,
love.
God.
Love one another in the way that you love us. Help us, God, in our frail and fragile mindsets and mentalities. Help us to be who it is you've designed us to be.
Yes, God.
God, I ask that you forgive me of my sins and my transgressions and allow me this moment, this opportunity to be a vessel that you have at your disposal to have a conversation with us. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Chris, can you hear that? Is that all right? Okay. I thought I heard a crack. Show me right. All right. Guys, I don't know if you've been checking out some of the latest technological moves that one of the largest retailers in America, maybe even in the world, is using. Walmart is in process of making some moves, man, that are just like that are amazing, because what they're trying to do, what Walmart is preparing to do, is to make moves in technology that help them break through the traditions of being a brick and mortar kind of store. Wow. So what they're doing is they're in the process of doing some stuff that helps them soar beyond where they have been. Because they realize something, that in this era of online shopping and Amazon and people like that they have to make some moves in order for them to still compete and to keep up with the way shopping is done today, because it's a lot different than it used to be done some 10, 15, 20 years ago. So Walmart realizes that in order to continue being a powerhouse, they have to break through some barriers that have kept them to being just a traditional brick and mortar store. So Walmart is employing a variety of strategies. One of the strategies that they're using in some of their stores already and should become more popular is they're using what are called mobile associates to help you check out of the store quicker, because most of us know, like, look, when you go to Walmart,
Right.
prepare to stand in line.
That's right.
Most of us know that it's very rare for you to run in there and run out real quick. And they understand that this is becoming a problem for them. So what they're doing is they're going to have these mobile checkout associates that have these mobile devices in their hands, and they can scan whatever it is that you may have in your basket at the moment and give you a receipt right there on the spot. You don't have to go stand in line or anything like that, because they know that the way we shop today is differently. We don't want to stand in line a long time. A lot of us do the online thing, the online shopping. So what they're trying to do is make the experience better for their customers when they do come in the store. Another thing Walmart is looking to employ on their app is this digital list thing, where so many of us will walk in the store with a paper list.
Right.
Walmart says, look, we're going to try something a little different with y'all. We're going to get a little savvy with you. And on our app, now I don't work for Walmart. But on their app, they're saying, look, you can put your list on the app, load it into your Walmart app, and then when you get to the Walmart store, Walmart will give you up to 4 suggestions for what it is that you want to purchase and tell you what aisle it's in.
I'm just saying.
It's like, so they're trying to make the experience better. And one of the other things that blew my mind, that I just can't wait to see this, because I'm going to mess with them on this one, is they recently filed for a patent for facial recognition. Now get this, because Amazon has this whole facial recognition thing going on, where you can walk in an Amazon store, right, and just by your face, you don't have to go. You just put whatever it is that you want, put it in the basket, and then go ahead and leave, and it's going to be charged to your Amazon account, because they recognize they have hundreds and hundreds of cameras in the store, and they recognize your face, and they'll put your face with your account, and then they'll charge you. But what Walmart is going to do, Walmart blew me with this one. This is what they say they want to do. They want facial recognition so that if you're in the store and you're frustrated, right, because you can't find something, it will read your emotions and dispatch a sales associate right to you. I was like, what? I was like, what? Oh, I got to go in there and mess with them on that. Yeah, go in there D, with an attitude, have an attitude and just mess with them. No, that's not what I'm looking for. I want it in green. Y'all don't have green? No, I thought I wanted it in green. Now I want it in red. Just to see, how much this really works with them. But the serious thing is that we can learn from Walmart, though.
Yeah, we can, really.
Is that they are employing these types of technology because they know that they have barriers between them and their customers. And they have to break through those barriers so that they can make the shopping experience more pleasant for their customers.
Yes.
Look, if a retailer would understand that, look, there's some barriers going on that keep us from prospering and soaring to higher heights than we've already soared.
Come on now.
If a retailer has enough sense to say, I know that there's some things that we can improve on and do so that the experience will be better. How about you and I employing some of the same tenacity in our lives so that our lives will be more prosperous, more impactful, more exciting? You ever wake up in the morning just excited for the day?
Yes.
I mean, because some of us get up mad. I mean, don't you know just getting up, you've already overcome millions of odds?
Yes.
Some of us wake up mad because we going to work. Don't you know there's some Negroes that don't have jobs? impacted today? What kind of impact will I have today?
Yes, will I have?
How can I break through these barriers that are in my life? Because see, all of us face barriers. Whether they're, now we're going to get a little personal. Whether they are barriers of communication between spouse. You ever?
Yes, I have.
I'm going to choose them carefully because I do want to go home. But you ever, like yeah. Truly, like you just can't seem to get beyond that barrier that you talk about it.
Yeah.
But
it's still there.
Yeah. It's like we have these things in life that these sometimes they're communication barriers.
Yeah.
It's like she told me. I heard her. Alice, I even repeated it back. But for some reason, somewhere in the process of implementation, something happened.
Something broke down.
Yeah. So sometimes we have these communication barriers that we have with spouses, but also even with family members. You ever had that child that, Lord Jesus, you just want to.
One child. Yeah.
Is the camera on?
Yes, it is.
You just want to. Or as our parents used to say, beat you to the white meat. Because there's this barrier I've been telling you.
Right.
But for some reason you just don't seem to get it. It just seems like there's a barrier between us. We have to break through these things. Even at work, sometimes there are barriers between us and our supervisors or our co-workers. And there are barriers that sometimes we set up ourselves. And those can at times be the most dangerous, the ones that you built yourself. But then there are others that people build for us. And they impose upon us. So how do we break through these barriers that we experience in life? Because all of us experience them and we have them, but sometimes we allow them to just stand in the way and keep us from moving forward. Yeah. Keep us from growing deeper.
Yes,
keep us from excelling further. Keep us from moving beyond where we were 2 years ago. Because of these barriers. David, I mean, we see here in our text that there's some barriers that they have to break through in order for the Israelites to really achieve the success that God destined for them. There's some stuff that they have to break through it.
Amen.
And here let's see what it is as David and the Philistines, he's going to engage, they're going to engage in battle. And the Philistines they've been like foes of the Israelites forever. They've always just kind of had it out for the Israelites. And here David is finally the king of Israel. Now this is interesting because verse 17 tells us that when the Philistines heard that David had been anointed king over Israel, they went up in full force to search for him. They were looking for David because they were threatened by what David was going to do with the children of Israel. See, remember when Israel wanted a king and they begged God because they thought that the grass was greener on the other side?
That's right, Pastor.
And they begged and begged. They said, look, other nations have kings and we want a king. And so God, be careful what you ask God for.
That's right.
Sometimes God will give it. You think the grass might be greener over there. On some wise person said before, like, look, if it looks like their grass is greener on the other side, guarantee that their water bill is higher too. Because green grass takes, you gotta feed it. So remember now when Israel said, we want a king, and God gives them Saul, and Saul oppresses them, and Saul takes advantage of them, and Saul is mean and nasty to them, and Saul takes them for granted, and God doesn't have a problem with allowing wicked, bad leadership to come in office.
Talk about that part.
God doesn't have a problem with that. God doesn't have a problem with allowing someone in office and leadership that doesn't have the best interest at heart of the masses of people, but is only self-absorbed and selfish because God allowed Israel to have Saul. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Bible.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm back.
God, he doesn't have a problem with that. We may, but God doesn't have a problem because bad leadership can bring out stuff in us that we didn't think existed. So he doesn't have a problem letting some petulant punk of a child in office so that he can raise up people. That's why it's important. It's important. I'm not saying who you vote for on Tuesday. But
that's right.
Vote.
That's right.
Because see, people didn't vote a few years ago.
You see, all I'm saying is
And God doesn't have a problem with that. God, I'll let you have what you think you want. So David finally becomes king of Israel. He had already become the king of Judah, the southern kingdom. But Saul, once Saul died, Saul had a son from one of his side girls. He had a son, right? And his name, I think, was Ishbosheth. And Ishbosheth became king after Saul died. Right? So David could not ascend to being the king of Israel. He could only be the king of Judah. But eventually Ishbosheth died, and now David becomes the king of Israel. And what happens is the Philistines have a problem with that. Because the Israelites were vassals to the Philistines. A vassal means that you're someone who pays tribute to those that are over you because they're over you and they will allow you to exist. Just don't rock the boat.
I know, right?
So you wonder why voter suppression and all this stuff is creeping up its ugly head now, because those that are in power get worried about those that may be ascending to power because they want to keep power. So the Philistines are angry and they're looking for David because they hear that David has now become the king. And David, we're going to look at him and show and see how it is that he has to break through these barriers for the Israelites to become who God really destined for them to be. And one of the first things that we have to do in order to break through barriers, one of those first things is that we got to request God's direction or request God's guidance. Wow. See, if you're having communication barriers with your family, your friends, your honey, your boo, whoever it may be, usually that means that what you've been using isn't working. Right. So you have to request direction from God. Let's look at it in verses 17 through 19. It says, when the Philistines heard that David had been anointed king over Israel, they went up in full force to search for him. But David heard about it and went down to the stronghold. Now the Philistines had come and spread out in the valley of Rephaim. So David inquired of the Lord, shall I go and attack the Philistines? Right. Will you deliver them into my hands? The Lord answered, go, for I will surely deliver the Philistines into your hands. Here we see one of the fundamental principles of breaking through barriers. One of the fundamental principles of breaking through barriers is this: you have to request direction from God.
Yes, Pastor, yes.
You have to, look. I'm not talking about going to church. I'm talking about having a relationship with God.
That's right.
That I can communicate with God.
Yes.
So that when the issues come up in my life,
yes,
I have someone who's watching over my life,
yes,
who can inform me and give me guidance,
yes,
and direction for my life.
Yes, yes.
David says, should we go and attack the Philistines? And get this, then he follows up with this question: will you deliver them into my hands? Because see, very often that's what trips us up.
Yes.
We want to know if we're going to win.
I know, right?
But I'll try it.
Right, but
I'm not going to win.
Right.
You know, look, I might not try that if what's going to be the verdict, though?
Right.
You know, and see, very often what we do is, rather than go to God, we'll go to someone else.
All right, Pastor,
because we think somebody else can tell us how it's going to play out.
Say so. Ain't that something? Say so.
Because that's what we want. Ultimately we want to know how things are going to play out.
Plus, I need you to co-sign it anyway.
If I do this, if I allow myself to be vulnerable, how's this thing going to play out?
Yes.
David inquires, shall I go and will you deliver them into my hands?
Yeah.
The Lord answers him and says, go, and yes, I'll deliver them.
Yeah.
For us, when we have these barriers that we need to break through, we have to request from God guidance and direction. Because see, God can do more with your mate than you can on your
That's right. That's right, yes.
I mean, for real. I know that there's some things that Pam has just turned over to God about me. I know it. I ain't ashamed to admit it. That there is some stuff that look, God, you have to deal with.
That's right.
That's your child.
That's right. There you go. That's right.
And you have to deal with that because this fool, I can't.
God bless you both.
And there's some stuff that we just have to take and place in the hands of God.
Amen, Pastor.
There's sometimes our children where it's like, look, I don't care how many times you tell them, there's some stuff you're just going to have to say, look, God's going to have to work that out with you.
Right.
Because me lecturing you is not going to get it. And there's some bumps and bruises that you're going to have to experience in order for your mindset to change.
Yes, Pastor.
So we have to request God's direction. But second thing, we see from David is that he recognizes God's work. Look at what in verses 20 and 21 it says. So David went to Baal Perizim, and there he defeated them. Now check this out though. He says, as waters break out, the Lord has broken out against my enemies before me. So that place was called Baal Perizim. The Philistines, check this out, they abandoned their idols there, and David and his men carried them off. In other words, what we see here is that David goes, he goes out to battle. They are and the Israelites defeat the Philistines.
Right.
But David is not willing to take credit for the victory.
Hallelujah.
David is willing to recognize that, look, God is the one who caused this thing to happen.
That's right.
He says, look at what he said. He says, as waters break out, the Lord has broken out against my enemies before me. In other words, what David recognizes is that the Philistines got their butts kicked because God intervened. See, there's some stuff you just can't handle.
That's right.
I don't care where you went to school. I don't care how many degrees you have. Doesn't matter where you live. You can live outside the Beltway, inside the Beltway. You can live in Virginia. I don't care where you live. You can live in New York. You can live on the East Coast, the West Coast. Doesn't matter. You can have gone to private school all your life. There's some stuff in life.
That's right. Yes. Thank you, God.
That God is going to have to handle for you.
Thank you, God.
And when we're willing to recognize that it was God. Man, when I'm willing to recognize that, you know what? Ooh, when I lost that job and I didn't know how ends were going to be, but somehow or another he caused ends to me. Wasn't because of my ingenuity. Wasn't because of my intellect. Wasn't because I came to church. No, it was because God broke out, like David says, like the waters, and went before me and defeated my enemies on my way. All right, last thing, because it's almost 12:15.
I'm feeling it. Thank you, God.
What kind
Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God.
So don't worry about the kickoff. Just
don't worry about it.
Keep on preaching.
Just wait a minute. Let's pause for station identification.
Thank you, God.
Number one in the NFC division, the Washington Redskins. All right, now it's back to our regularly scheduled program. But that's a Dallas Cowboy fan right there. He said, no. We have Atlanta today. Should be interesting. All right, last thing. So I have to recognize God's work. I have to request God's direction. But it's not enough for me to recognize God's work, though.
No.
I have to rely on God's strength.
Yeah. Rely on His strength.
See,
thank you, God.
I have to get to a point in my life, no matter how strong I think I am, that I understand He's stronger.
Yeah.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
You know, because just like there's things that, there's some stuff I just can't think my way out of. There's some stuff that I don't have all the right connections. There's some doors that God has opened that it's like, I don't even know.
Right. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, God. Yeah.
It's like people say, well, how did that? I said,
thank you, God. Thank you, God.
How did that happen?
Thank you, God. Wow. Thank you, God.
Because that's just who He is. So let's look at it, verses 22 through 25. Once more, get this, the Philistines came up and spread out in the valley of Rephaim. So David inquired of the Lord, and He answered, do not go straight up. Now this time it's a little bit different.
Right.
First time He says, yeah, go. Go, I got you. This time He says, do not go straight up.
Right.
But circle around behind them and attack them in front of the poplar trees. As soon as you hear the sound of marching in the tops of the poplar trees, move quickly, because that will mean the Lord has gone out in front of you to strike the Philistine army.
Yes.
So David did as the Lord commanded him,
Yes.
and he struck down the Philistines all the way from Gibeon to Gazer.
Yeah.
Now this tripped me out, because when they fought the first time, they were in Rephaim, which is only about 3 or 4 miles from Jerusalem.
But now.
So David wins and stuff. But this time, the Philistines come back at them again. And now this time, David and the Philistines kicked their behinds so bad that they pushed them 20 miles away.
Wow.
Because, listen, they relied on God's power.
Yes. Hallelujah.
See, there's some stuff that, yes, you can handle. But then there's some stuff in life that you need somebody stronger than you to deal with what you're going through, because you need somebody who has more, can I say this, more strength than you. See, there's some stuff that I have the strength to deal with. But there's some stuff you need strength. I mean, I'm sorry.
That's right. I got that urban Bible.
He says to David, do not go straight up. Go around them.
Yes.
From behind. Go around them. And then tells them, look, just park in front of the trees.
I like that part.
And when you hear this sound going off in the tops of the trees, that means that I'm there to defeat them for you.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Now, I know how some of us would respond. Trees?
I know.
What do you mean? That doesn't even make sense. But sometimes that's how God operates.
Yes.
In ways that do not make sense to us as human beings.
Yes.
But it makes a lot of sense to him, because it's him working on our behalf.
Yes.
And there's going to be stuff, Dee Dee, that, look, you just can't change in the strength that you have, but you'll need somebody stronger than you to help you and to change it for you, because you cool and all that, but you don't have that unlimited power that God has. Listen, I'm through because it's almost 12:20. This week, I think it was this week, Pam's, her check engine light came on in the car, right? No, it had been on for a while.
You put that little stick over top of
If you just put a piece of tape on top of it, you don't even know it's there until it's time to go for emissions, right? So her check engine light, so she reminded me, she's like, look, I'm going to go to emissions tomorrow, and I need you to go ahead, and I have this little scan tool that I use in order to, you connect it to the computer of the car.
Right.
It'll tell you what the codes are, right? And then you can cut off the check engine light. All right, well, my scan tool came from where? Oh, mine came from like the Advanced Auto. It cost me about $20, right? So I'm like, that's a good deal for me. That's right in my budget.
Right.
So,
Come on, babe.
and I've used it on other cars, so I'm thinking it's going to be fine for her car, right? So I go out there in her car, and I'm trying to get, I connect it to the car and go through the whole process that I've done before, and I keep getting this error. I keep getting an error message, error message, error message, error message, and finally, after a few times getting the error message, I get the message.
You probably get it.
I get it.
It clicks.
I get the message, this ain't gonna work. I get it. I mean, it took me a few times, but I get the message that this ain't gonna work. So I disconnect the scan tool from her car, and I immediately text our auto technician. And I'm like, look, man, I'm trying to clear a code in Pam's car, but for some reason, my scan tool won't read her computer. So then he says, well, what year is the car? I said, well, it's a 2010. He said, oh, yeah, and he said, that little blue tool you have? I said, yeah. He said, no, that tool is not advanced enough. It's not sophisticated enough for it to read a newer car. He said, now, it'll read older cars, but it won't read newer cars. So I say to him, I said, well, look, can she come over tomorrow? Can she get up with you tomorrow and you know, connect your scan tool since you got the better tool? I was getting in my feelings a little bit. But I mean, him and I are cool, so I'm like, since you got the better tool, then, since, you know, can she come by tomorrow? So he says, yeah, that's fine, because, see, the tool I use is much more advanced than the one you have. You have one that they just give to regular customers, but I'm a technician.
All right.
I said, you don't have to go through all of that. I'm just trying to get the light on. So she goes over, right? He scans it, boom, light comes off and stuff, and he, you know, tells her what the codes, the faults were, and stuff that we'll have to get fixed. And for a moment, yeah, I was still in my feelings, because I'm like, hold on, how you gonna go to some other man? I'm like, hold up. I'm like, it's the male ego. The male ego. But here's the thing. Here was the spiritual lesson in all of it.
Yes, Pastor.
Was that sometimes what we have is not equipped to deal with some of the problems that we're going to deal with in life. And sometimes we're going to have to go to God, who's much stronger than us. That means that sometimes we're going to have to cut our girlfriends off, our boyfriends off, our friends, our family members, because they might not be totally equipped to deal with whatever it is that you're dealing with in your life. And sometimes you have to rely on somebody who's stronger than you, smarter than you, has more experience in life than you, to give you guidance and direction for your life.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord.
We can break through the barriers in life when we're willing to seek God for direction.
Yes.
Lord. Thank you, Lord.
When we request direction from
Thank you.
Him. When we recognize, look, the more I recognize what He does for me,
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you,
the
God.
less I'm full of myself.
Hallelujah. Yes. Thank you,
Wait a minute, let me
Lord.
go
I'm serious. The more I recognize
Yes.
what He's done,
Yes, Pastor.
the less I think of, you know, so much highly of myself.
Yes.
And then when I learn how to rely on His power rather than my own strength, and sometimes even my family and my friends, they may not be strong enough
Yes.
or even wise enough
Yes.
to deal with some of the things that I may have to deal with.
Yes, Pastor.
So I have to learn how to rely so that I can break through those things.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
Listen, my brother, my sister, please don't let the barriers in life, whether they have been self-erected
Oh, yeah.
or other people have placed them in front of you, do not allow those things to keep
Oh,
you from
yes.
experiencing
In front of you. Come on.
the joy and the excitement
Yes.
of life.
Yes. Yes.
God gave us life
Yes.
Yes.
so that we could experience it in its beauty.
Yes,
It can get ugly at times, but even in its ugliness.
Yes.
I think there's a song y'all sing, talk about there's beauty in my brokenness.
Yes.
Yes.
Because when I'm broken,
Oh, I hate
what I
that.
actually have to understand is that He's in the process of building me.
Yes.
Thank you, God.
So don't allow the
Thank you,
barriers.
God. Thank you, God.
Please don't allow the
Thank you,
barriers in
God.
life.
Thank you, God.
Because there's some that we build ourselves.
Mm.
There's some that we build up ourselves. And those things that we think are going to keep people out,
Yeah.
they keep us locked in too.
Wow.
And then there are those that people will try and build around us.
I know, right?
Don't allow those barriers to keep you from the destiny God has for you. The freedom He wants you to experience in life. The joy that He wants you to experience. If we could just rest on our feet for just a quick minute.